What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Tough week last week, going 10 and 11 overall, but we're still 60% over the last 5 weeks, which is probably unsustainable, but we'll try and keep that up. Honestly, this is a tough week so far, at least as of recording this on Friday. The projections that sites are putting up right now are really strong, and there's also like a decent amount of injuries this week. So you've got a lot of spots and a lot of games where either the projection is too good to really take advantage of in either direction, or they're just holding back projections because we don't have injury news yet. But I've got some names we can go over right now. So let's hop into things with the Munich game. This is a pick for Sunday morning, 9:30 Eastern. That one kicks off. So I guess if you're watching this past that time, tough. But it's Malik Nabers. I think Nabers is going to drop a nuke this weekend. So not only would I be good taking Nabers higher than 75.5, that's what his projection is right now, I'd be good bumping that up to 110, 120. Maybe if your site allows it, Underdog doesn't let you put those two together, but if your site allows 120 and a touchdown, you could do that. But on Underdog, I'd be good upping his projection to 119.5, higher than that. Not only does Nabers have an absolutely ridiculous 25% target share on the season, but he has really drastic splits when Daniel Jones is pressured versus when Daniel Jones is not pressured. Jacob Gibbs had a really good tweet about this. Feels insane. Honestly, feels fake, like how absolutely crazy this split is. But Nabers jumps from a 19% target rate to a 44% target rate when his quarterback is not facing pressure. And what's more, when defenses blitz and they don't generate pressure. So when a defense sends an extra pass rusher, but they're still not getting pressure at the quarterback, Nabers' target rate on those plays is 52%. Basically, whenever Daniel Jones has any sort of time to throw, he stares down Malik Nabers and gets him the football. And you know what team generates the least pressure when blitzing? You guessed it, the Carolina Panthers. Nabers also kind of hasn't been hitting recently. The volume has still been there. Again, I think it's over a 35% target share in the season. He's been getting peppered with targets. He just kind of hasn't hit on a long play recently. He's a freak athletically. We all know that a big play is coming soon. I feel really good about this one. So again, I'd be good bumping up his projection to 120 receiving yards. I also really like Puka Nacua this week, higher than 70.5 receiving yards, but I'd be good bumping that one up as well. If you ever just want to get a little bit more from some of these picks, right? You feel really good about a player. Last week, I loved Jacoby Myers, and it was like, I know that his projection right now is 50.5. You can take higher on that, but you can get a lot more from it if you bump it up to 60, 70, 80. We bumped it up to 100 last week. I'd be good doing the same with Nabers and Puka this week. I feel very strongly about both of them. He was, of course, ejected. I think it was the second quarter, maybe in the first quarter. It was very early last week. But hey, at least he's healthy, right? At least he exited the game healthy. I know that's super annoying because probably no one played him in fantasy the week before. Very few people did, and he just goes completely berserk. And so you're like, okay, he's good. He's back. Then he has that injury on Friday in practice, and you're like, okay, wait, how bad is it? Pretty much everyone probably played him last week, and then he was healthy, but then he gets ejected early on. But again, positive takeaway here is that at least he is healthy right now, and the matchup does favor him. Miami is the third best matchup for outside wide receivers, and they're the second worst matchup for slot wide receivers. They are much more likely to put Cooper Kupp into the slot and have Puka Nacua on the outside. Puka has earned a target on 31% of his routes this season. That is actually higher than last year. So for the crowd out there that's like, Puka was only good last year because Cooper Kupp was out, well, that has not been the case this season. Obviously, he's had limited time because of the injury, but had he been healthy all season, earning a target on 31% of his routes, he'd be going off a ton. You wouldn't be getting a projection as low as this, again, 70.5 yards. So again, I'm good bumping it up to 120 in this one as well. I wouldn't say I feel as good about him as Nabers. I really do just feel so strongly that Nabers is dropping a nuke this weekend, but I still feel really good about it. And it's worth mentioning, if you do Nabers 120, Puka 120, that is 31x on Underdog, not adding anything else, not adding any sort of boost. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing for the promo this week. Follow me on Twitter to see what I do, but I feel pretty good that like this one's in heavy consideration. Unless I see something else that I like, I'm probably going to use that combo. I also really like Odunze, higher than 40.5 receiving yards. We have taken his higher 4 consecutive weeks. We'll make it 5 in a row this week. It has hit in all 4 consecutive weeks. New England is a negative matchup for slot wide receivers, and they have one really good corner in Christian Gonzalez. He's very likely going to shadow DJ Moore, and so you've got Moore, Allen, both having tough matchups, but Odunze has a soft one. I think he's going to get open a few times deep downfield, so as long as Caleb doesn't miss him, which is 1,000% a possibility. Caleb has not been playing all that well, but Caleb's aggressive. A lot of times he's getting into trouble because he's too aggressive. If you're going to be aggressive with anyone this week, it should be Odunze. Slight weather concerns in this game, but it doesn't really look that bad. We'll know a lot more as well on Sunday morning. So if you wanted to hold off on this one, just check Sunday morning and make sure it's not too windy, but early indications are it'll be windy, but not too bad to where you couldn't take this. After Odunze, I also really like Dell this weekend. Basically a blanket statement for Houston wide receivers is, are they the only one? Are they the only one of Nico, Diggs, or Dell? If they are, take them, right? This is an offense that will hyper-focus on that top wide receiver, especially when there are injuries. They'll be designing a ton of plays for Dell this weekend. Of course, Diggs done for the season, and it's not looking like Nico is going to play. That could change, and I would say you could hold off on this. I do think the projection probably goes higher. Right now it's 64.5 receiving yards. I mean, it probably goes higher than that if you get Nico confirmed out, so check that, but it does not seem like he's going to play. He has not practiced yet. We'll see what happens on Friday, but for him to come back and only practice once on Friday, it just feels unlikely. It feels like he's more doubtful to play this weekend. Again, Houston will focus on that top wide receiver, especially when the others are injured. Stroud just doesn't seem to trust the other wide receivers as well. Some of them are getting open, but it doesn't seem like he trusts them all that much. Detroit, by far the best matchup for slot wide receivers in the NFL. This is a smart offense. This is an offense that will move players around the formation. I can promise you Dell is going to get into the slot a lot this weekend. Houston's also going to have to throw the ball a lot because they're, obviously like Detroit's tough to run on, so naturally you have to throw. But then also Detroit's a great offense. They're probably going to be winning in this game. They're probably going to win the game as well. And so you're going to have naturally elevated pass attempts. Plus you're trailing, so now you have to elevate the pass attempts even more. It's a dome game, so you have no weather concerns. Like everything points to Dell is going to have every opportunity to go higher than 64.5. I also really like Aaron Jones, higher than 69.5 rushing yards. The Vikings are going to destroy the Jaguars this weekend, and so we should get plenty of rushing volume from Aaron Jones. Now, to be fair, the Jaguars aren't a horrible run defense. They're like arguably the worst pass defense, but definitely a bottom 3 pass defense in the NFL. Slightly below average against the run. They're probably in that like 10 to 14 range on like the low end, on the high end. So like a bottom 10 to 14 team against the run. So I don't think Aaron Jones is going to go out there and rip off like a bunch of 20-yard plays, but he also doesn't need to. He only needs to hit 70 here. I think what really has me liking this one is that the Jaguars offense is going to struggle a ton. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to play. The receiving core is banged up, and they weren't even playing that well to begin with. Now they're going to be playing the Vikings, who, again, you can't run on, so teams will throw on them. So you can see elevated passing numbers when teams play the Vikings. But the Vikings are also a very good scheme. They're a very confusing scheme. And so when you don't have a good quarterback going up against them, they can get confused, hold on to the ball a little bit too long, and that can be terrible news for the offense. I think that's probably going to happen. It's going to be Mac Jones this weekend. I don't know that Mac Jones is going to go out there and really start ripping apart this Vikings defense. I think they're going to confuse him a lot. And so I think there's going to be short fields. I think there's going to be just an opportunity to where the Vikings are up by 10 or more points for a large portion of this game. And they have not been shy about really feeding Aaron Jones this season. He has over 20 touches in 4 of his last 5 healthy games. The one where he didn't have over 20, he still had 17 in a brutal matchup against the Lions. And even in that game, he had 93 rushing yards, 23 more through the air. So just given the game script I'm expecting, I really just think the Vikings are going to destroy the Jaguars this weekend. Given that, I think he can approach 20 carries. I just think, he's got a great opportunity to go higher than 69.5 rushing yards. All right. one final pick before we get out of here. Again, if you want to see more picks on my website for free, all you gotta do is sign up for your first Underdog account using promo code FFA. It's the same deal I've had all season. If you do that, make a pick, you'll get access to my site, a lot of the content for free. And again, you'll see these picks early. But one last pick for the video is Jauan Jennings, higher than 38.5 receiving yards. He's 4th in yards per route run on the season. He's tied with George Kittle for the team lead with a 25% targets per route run. He's got the highest win rate on the team now that Ayuk is done for the season. Basically, I think he's just been really good. I think he's been underrated. I think that, like, you know, his like 3rd and Jauan, right? That's kind of his like name tag the past couple of years. It's like, oh, it's 3rd and 7. Jauan's going to run an 8-yard out and they're going to get it. Like, that's just like been his thing. And so that's how he racks up like 3 for 30, 4 for 40. Like, he just kind of keeps doing that a few times a game. But I think this season, he's kind of taken his game to a next level. I think he's actually like improved as a wide receiver and he's really good. And I think they're actually like going to use him a decent amount. I think they're going to use him more than people think. Because of course, Ayuk's done, but they have McCaffrey back. They have Debo, they have Kittle, like Ricky Pearsall is finally healthy and involved in the offense now. So I think people kind of just assume he's going to go back to 3rd and Jauan and we leave you alone if it's not that. But I think he's actually going to have a role. Now, the matchup isn't perfect. He does work out of the slot a lot of the time. It is a better matchup for outside wide receivers than slot wide receivers, but it's not like he's exclusively a slot wide receiver. He will get routes on the outside, so I wouldn't really worry about that too much. I just think he's going to have a stronger role than the market is pricing in right now, so I would take advantage of that. Again, 38.5, that's really not a massive projection the Underdog's putting out there for his receiving yards. All right. That'll do it for this week. Check Twitter for this week's promo where I give away $250 if the pick hits to someone who likes and retweets it. Very easy way to gain exposure to something, even if you don't want to tail. I'll be probably doing the Puka and the Neighbors one, but confirm that before tailing just to see if I'm actually going to do that one. Good luck to everyone this weekend. If you want to tail any of these picks, make sure you're doing it on Underdog. And if you don't have an account, now is a great time to sign up. Promo code FFA. Easiest way to get my picks early, my rankings, my detailed projections, all for free. All you gotta do, sign up promo code FFA, make at least one pick. All right, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all on the waiver wire video on Monday.